You think you know JB Mauney, the wild man, the bull riding legend, the guy who made a career doing the one thing most people are terrified to even watch, climbing on the back of a raging bull and hanging on for dear life. But what if I told you that today, JB Mauney's life looks nothing like you'd expect? This is a man who's broken just about every bone in his body. He's won millions of dollars. He's been at the top of one of the toughest sports on earth. You'd think he'd be living fast, showing off, maybe even chasing fame. But no. After all the titles, injuries, and hard years on the road, Mauney has completely changed his life. He's traded the wild ride for something totally different. And the way he's living now? You won't believe it. Let's take a closer look at the real JB Mauney. The making of a legend. JB Mauney was born on January 9, 1987, in Charlotte, North Carolina. But he didn't grow up in some big city. He was raised in a quiet town called Mooresville, surrounded by farmland and animals. From the time he was a little kid, he wasn't like everybody else. While most kids were playing video games or riding bikes, JB was dreaming about bulls. Just 3 years old, he started riding sheep in little rodeos, something called mutton busting. And by the time he was a teenager, he was already thinking bigger. He wasn't scared. He was hungry for it. His mom, Lynne, supported him, even though it made her nervous. When JB turned 13, she bought him his first bull rope. That was it. He was hooked. Mauney trained by riding anything he could. He built his own practice setup in the backyard. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. He studied videos of the best bull riders in the world and practiced constantly. He wanted to be like his heroes, Tuff Hedeman, Lane Frost, and Chris Shivers. But deep down, JB wasn't trying to copy anyone. He was already on his way to becoming a legend in his own right. By 2006, at just 19 years old, JB Mauney turned pro. It didn't take long before people started noticing him. He wasn't just good, he was fearless. He was the guy who picked the rancorest, meanest bulls. If there was a bull nobody wanted to ride, Mauney was the one who stepped up. He didn't back down from anything. Over his career, he racked up over $7 million in prize money. He became a 2-time world champion in the professional bull riders. He even rode Bushwhacker, one of the most famous and dangerous bulls in history. A bull that had bucked off 42 riders in a. JB was the guy who finally made the ride. But behind the headlines and trophies was a man constantly pushing through pain. Mauney broke bones, tore muscles, and got knocked unconscious more times than anyone can count. Still, he kept going. Because for JB, riding bulls wasn't about money or fame. It was about the ride. And that ride made him one of the greatest of all time, the man behind the legend. For most of his career, JB Mauney was known as the tough guy. The cowboy who didn't flinch. The guy who rode the bulls everyone else was scared of. But when he wasn't in the arena, there was a different side to him that not everyone saw. JB's personal life has had its ups and downs, just like his time in the sport. He was first married to Lexi Wigley, and in 2011, they had a daughter named Bella. Even while he was traveling non-stop for bull riding events, he was always proud to talk about being a dad. His face lit up whenever he mentioned her. Being a father was one of the few things that could pull his mind away from bulls. After his first marriage ended, JB got a second chance at love. In 2017, he married Samantha Lynne. She wasn't just any cowgirl, she came from a rodeo family herself. Samantha understood the life of a rodeo athlete because she lived it too. Together, they built a life that wasn't just about traveling and competing, but about family. In 2019, they welcomed a son, Jagger Briggs Mauney. J.B. has always been a family man at heart, but you really see it now. After years on the road and countless injuries, he realized what mattered most wasn't another belt buckle, it was the people waiting for him at home. And that home? It's no longer in North Carolina, where he grew up. JB and his family made the move to Stephenville, Texas, a place known for cowboys and rodeo life. They bought a ranch there, where they could have more space, raise cattle, and enjoy the quieter moments. These days, Mauney is often seen spending time with his kids, whether they're riding horses or just running around the ranch. He's teaching them how to ride, how to respect animals, and how to work hard. He's not pushing them toward bull riding, but he's giving them the kind of upbringing that teaches responsibility and grit. For a guy who was once chasing titles and riding some of the most dangerous bulls in the world, JB Mauney has found peace in something much simpler: family life. And from what he says, that's his proudest achievement yet. From bull riding legend to ranch life and coaching, most people think that when a superstar athlete retires, they either disappear from the spotlight or spend their days chasing luxury. But JB Mauney's life after bull riding is nothing like that. After years of traveling from one arena to the next, Mauney has settled down on a ranch in Stephenville, Texas. It's a quiet piece of and where he spends his days doing honest work. And if you think he's just sitting on the porch watching the sun go down, think again. Mauney is out there every day, feeding cattle, fixing fences, and taking care of the land. Ranch life isn't glamorous, but it's real. And that's exactly how he likes it. He's traded 8 seconds on a bull for sunup to sundown work on the ranch. But for JB, it's not really trading anything, it's just a new kind of challenge. He enjoys raising cattle, working with horses, and being out in the fresh air. He says there's something peaceful about it. It's a slower life, sure, but it's full of purpose. And he's not done with bull riding either. Not by a long shot. These days, Mauney is helping the next generation of riders. In 2023, he took on the role of assistant coach for the Oklahoma Wildcatters, a team in the PBR Team Series. Coaching wasn't something he originally planned to do, but after a career-ending neck injury, he knew he wasn't done with the sport. If he couldn't ride, he was going to teach as a coach. Mauney brings something you can't buy: experience. He's been on the back of the toughest bulls, and he's fought through pain that most people can't even imagine. When he talks, young riders listen. He teaches them how to stay calm, how to handle fear, and how to ride smart. It's not about being a hero, he tells them, it's about riding another day. When he's not coaching or working on the ranch, you'll still find him at bull riding events. But these days, he's there as a mentor, not a competitor. And he's okay with that. After everything he's been through, the injuries, the surgeries, and the close calls, Mauney has found a new role that matters just as much as winning titles. J.B. Mauney's life after bull riding is all about keeping things simple, staying close to his family, and helping others chase their dreams. It's a different kind of ride, but he's still holding on tight. What you wouldn't expect from a bull riding legend. If you only knew J.B. Mauney from watching him ride bulls, you might think he's some wild, thrill-chasing cowboy who never slows down. After all, this is the guy who spent nearly 2 decades taking on the biggest, baddest bulls in the world. He broke bones like most people get bruises. You'd expect him to still be living life on the edge, maybe racing cars, partying hard, or trying to recapture the rush he got in the arena. But that's not who he is. Not anymore. One of the most surprising things about J.B. Mauney is how simple his life has become. Instead of chasing fame or glory, he's focused on being a husband and a dad. He spends more time taking his kids fishing or riding horses than he does talking about his past wins. He's teaching his son, Jagger, how to handle horses and take care of animals, passing down the cowboy way of life, but without pushing him toward bull riding. JB knows how dangerous that world is, and while he won't stop his kids from doing what they love, he's not in a hurry to see them get on the back of a bull. Another thing most people don't expect? How humble he is. You'd think a guy with 2 world championships and over $7 million in career earnings might have a big ego. But Mauney's the opposite. He doesn't brag about what he's done. In fact, if you met him on his ranch, you might not even realize who he is. He's happy in a t-shirt, a pair of old jeans, and a worn-out ball cap. He doesn't need fancy cars or a big mansion. His ranch, his family, and his cattle are enough. And then there's his role as a coach. A lot of people are surprised to see him take on that job because coaching requires patience and teaching. 2 things JB wasn't exactly known for when he was riding. Back then, he was more of a go big or go home kind of guy. But as a coach for the Oklahoma Wildcatters, he's learned to slow down and help younger riders develop the skills they need to stay safe and succeed. He talks to them about the mental side of the game, something he admits took him a long time to figure out himself. What's even more unexpected is how open he's been about his injuries and how they've changed him. Mauney has had countless surgeries and spent months in recovery after breaking his neck in 2023. That injury ended his riding career for good, but he's been honest about how hard it was to let go. It wasn't easy, but he's accepted it. Instead of being bitter or feeling sorry for himself, he's embraced his new life and found different ways to stay connected to the sport he loves. Fans might also be surprised to learn that Mauney doesn't watch his old rides very often. He says he doesn't need to relive the past. He's more focused on what's happening now. Whether that's working with cattle on his ranch or helping young bull riders chase their dreams. Mauney has found a new purpose. In the end, J.B. Mauney's lifestyle isn't about living fast or chasing the next big thing. It's about slowing down, keeping things simple, and finding joy in the everyday moments. And for a man who once seemed larger than life, that's pretty surprising. A life that's full of surprises. J.B. Mauney's story is proof that life doesn't always turn out the way people expect, and that's not a bad thing. He spent years living on the edge, riding bulls most people wouldn't even get near. He broke records, won championships, and became one of the greatest bull riders of all time. But after all the fame, the money, and the injuries, Mauney found something even more important. A life he actually enjoys. A life where he gets to be a husband, a dad, a rancher, and a mentor. He's not chasing headlines anymore. He's chasing sunsets on the ranch, quality time with his kids, and helping the next generation of bull riders succeed. And maybe that's the biggest twist of all. The man who once risked everything for 8 seconds of glory has found happiness in the simple things. And if you ask him, that's the best ride he's ever taken. J.B. Mauney's lifestyle today is grounded, humble, and filled with purpose. It's not what most people expected from a guy like him, but maybe that's what makes it so inspiring.